2 minutes of Torah. This year is entitled, one who keeps Shabbat late, after Shabbat, Motzi Shabbat, can he ask someone else to do Melacha, for him or for her? So we discussed in the previous year, someone who accepts Shabbat early in the summertime, that certainly is very prevalent. That happens often. One accepts Shabbat early, comes home from shul, realizes he didn't put on the air conditioner, didn't turn the light on off in the fridge. And there, it's mutar to ask a Jew or a Gentile to do Melacha during the Zman of Tosefet Shabbat, the additional time for Shabbat. It's very, very important, of course, but the Rabbanan, the rabbis, did not prohibit Amirah, asking a Jew or a Gentile to do work for you. What about after Shabbat? What's the halacha after Shabbat? So many people keep Shabbat. It's still going on. They're in the middle of Sudash Lishit. And then other people already are coming home from shul. There's different practices. How late? Masid Mordechai out here has minyanim 40, 50, 60, 70 minutes after Shabbat. Many minyanim are going on after Shabbat. The Ramah bet even later than that. So can those people, let's say you have a group of people having Sudash Lishit, the air goes off, the lights go off, and other people come home from shul already on Saturday night. So can they ask them? So the Ramah says at the end of Reis Samach Gimel Orach Chaim, Kol Shekain, all the more so, if before Shabbat, if someone accepts Shabbat early, he can ask someone to do it. Then Kol Shekain, all the more so after Shabbat, if you're keeping it late, you can go ahead and ask someone, Jew or Gentile. Now, what is this Kol Shekain? Why all the more so? The Mishnah Berurah explains. That's what's the reason? The reason is because once I accept Shabbos upon myself before Shabbat, I'm locked into Shabbat. I can't just decide, I could really get out of it. I'm not that committed. What do you mean not that committed? It's Shabbos for you. You can't get out of it. And even so, you can go ahead and ask someone to do Melacha. Of course, it's the time of Tosefet Shabbat, additional time that you accepted upon yourself. You made it early Shabbat. So now, it's Saturday night. At any moment, you could decide, Baruch Hamav Demekodesh Chol. You yourself could get out of Shabbat. And since the commitment is not as strong, so then you certainly can ask, during this time of Tosefet Shabbat, additional Shabbat, you certainly can ask a Jew or Gentile to do work for you. That's how Mishnah Berurah explains the Ramah. So therefore the answer is, someone who's keeping Shabbat late this week, there's a late Shalashudus, there's a Shabbaton, and someone else is not, they can ask them to do Melacha. That's the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah. The question we have to discuss for next year is, what if you don't happen to keep Shalashudus late this week? You observe 72 minutes. That's your Shabbat. You can't just decide you want to get out of it. You're locked in. That's your beautiful mitzvah Tosefet Shabbat. You've accepted. And it's more than Tosefet Shabbat. It's not just additional. You hold it still daytime until you make Havdala. So Shevet HaLevi, Chelek Aleph, Siman Nun Gimel addresses that question. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll look into it next year. Shalom.